So what's the purpose of all these shenanigans exactly?
Let me just put it this way. You're talking to someone who has nothing to lose. I've stopped caring about YouTube. I've heard a lot of terrible things about you guys from other creators, and I quite literally don't want to deal with your bullshit. How about that?
Bellatora, do I have any pressing upcoming engagements? Cancel it, and grant them extra time. It appears I have some unfinished business to attend to.
Own yourself, dude. Own what you are and who you are. If DMs are ugly, address it. Don't go pointing fingers at the whistleblowers for bringing attention to it.
Greetings, online travelers. I'm Aeron Tempest, and welcome back to another dissection. If you've been keeping up in certain circles, you've most likely heard of the recent escapades of Spoctor. You also might have heard my name be mentioned here and there throughout them. At this point, it is no secret that I've been a player in this off-screen game of chess, but I was content on keeping quiet and letting others handle the situation publicly. However, after witnessing one of Spoctor's calls with Leo Convoy and Hopeless Peaches, I feel nothing but indignation towards our former commentating lizard, and I wish to obtain my own closure. So in this rather unorthodox dissection, I will grant you a rare tour behind the scenes and document my involvement with the Spoctor saga from start to finish. Consider this my Christmas gift, and as a cautionary tale on why you do not cross the record keeper. Now, in order to fully understand the situation we find ourselves in, we need to start at the beginning. On March 8th, 2018, a YouTuber by the name of Yo-Yo3639 made a video titled Dear Ranting Community, among other things. It was framed as a video explaining why she was leaving the ranting community, but it was nothing more than a poorly disguised call-out video that was more interested in spilling as much tea as possible than actually verifying the accuracy of her claims. Specifically, her video had 3 targets, the names Junkie, Ghost, and of course, Spoctor. Oh, but don't worry, she wasn't naming names or anything.
And I'm not going to name names.
Or so she claims. In any case, she spent the whole video running the gamut from standard hypocrisy to contradicting herself to cherry-picking to manipulating context to just flat out lying through her teeth. Let me give an example as a case study. Around the 6-minute mark, Yo-Yo claims that the entire ranting community is like a cross between a Wild West and No Man's Land, where the higher-ups form a monopoly over the entire community.
They act as if they know everything, and they act as if they're in charge when they have no right to be in that position in the first place. They hold this monopoly over the community. So really, in a way, it's just like kind of the Wild West out here. It's every man for himself, and there are no rules, there are no guidelines, there is no true law of the land, so to speak. It's just a bunch of savages. And because it's a little bit of no man's land, the people that do have all this popularity grab this community by the balls and they put themselves in charge, and no one questions it.
Only for her to contradict herself 2 minutes later while recapping the situation between Deltora and the names Junkie.
You know, she had been posting videos and she caught the attention of the name's Junkie. I know I said I wasn't naming names, but we're gonna start naming names. He has a video series where he promotes smaller YouTube channels and he gives them some visibility, and he did that for Deltora.
Showing that at least one of the head honchos in the ranting community is not trying to amass all of the social capital within the community for themselves, and is actively trying to help out folks on the ground floor. Way to go. But that's only the start of this little rabbit hole.
Deltora just kind of went along her business. She continued making the kind of content that she wanted to do, regardless of what other people in the community told her to do or said would make her videos more popular. So recently, if you haven't been living under a rock, I'm sure you've at least heard of Simply Dad's most recent video regarding this community as well, and he kind of just went into a lot of stuff that he was unhappy with and you know, called out a lot of these popular YouTubers I'm mentioning. Del Toro posted a comment on it saying that she appreciated the things he had to say and that she felt it was stupid that she needed the approval of someone like Junkie from the beginning to even get a foothold in this community. Oh my god, did that fucking piss Junkie off. He had expressed extreme distaste in the comment that she chose to make as her own person, and said he was really annoyed by the fact that she didn't appreciate the oh so kind thing he did for her. You know, God forbid someone turns down the godlike hand of Junkie. He felt he didn't get the thanks that he deserved from her. And the most shocking thing to me was that there was another person in the server he was talking with who mentioned how they wanted to make a rant video on Del Toro. And Junkie, you know, word for word, said fucking annihilate her. Oh, but he's such a nice guy. Oh, he's so nice. He has everyone's best interest in mind. Okay.
Let's take it from the top and work our way down. First, the thumbnail Yo-Yo put on screen was wrong. That thumbnail is from Junkie's underrated ranters/reviewers countdown made on July 2nd, 2017. Del Toro wasn't mentioned there. She was mentioned in Junkie's top 5 underrated ranters/commentary channels video that was made on February 2nd, 2018. Good job. Second, Yo-Yo makes the insinuation that Junkie was telling Del Toro what to do to make her videos more popular, but Junkie didn't actually give her any advice during his segment on her. He praised her for having a dramatic uptick in quality and having a consistent upload schedule, and that's about it. He didn't even complain about Del Toro changing up the content on her channel, completely disproving Yo-Yo's passive-aggressive claim. Third, speaking of Del Toro, let's go over that comment shown because who on earth is going to be able to read it in the blurred state that it's in?
God, I wish you posted more often. I miss you when you are gone. This has been on my mind for a while, but as a small fish in a big pond I really didn't want to cause any big splashes. But this really needed to be saw. I hate call-outs. I tried it and my opinion hasn't changed. Someone is getting hurt whether you protect their identity from your viewers or not. You still have to understand that your actions in the video you had still hurt someone, and I hate that. Not people doing actually terrible things. No, call those people out. But being a bad artist or an inexperienced ranter doesn't mean you are a bad person, and these call-outs are honestly shit. I totally get where you are coming from in this video and I feel you. My channel was shouted out in Junkie's last underrated Raiders video, and to be honest, 6 months about I would have flipped. Now though, it's like I didn't need your approval. I'm doing my own thing and I'm really happy doing so. I don't want to be a DA ranter. There is so much more to my channel. I have made shitty content. Everyone does. But the difference is learning from those mistakes. Thank you so much for taking on a topic I believe many people are scared to touch.
Now, if I'm going to be completely honest, this whole approval nonsense was a joke. Literally. When Junkie said I approve of this, he was clearly referring to the fact that Del Toro's avatar was also a dragon.
Also, dragons. I approve of this.
The entire drama between these two, if you can even call it that, was based off of a misunderstanding over a throwaway joke of all things. I can't blame Junkie for reacting in the way he did, because when you leave a comment that is a complete 180 with the sentiment posted here on Junkie's video where he gave you that shoutout, it makes you look ungrateful, if not two-faced. Third, the Discord screenshots were both cherry-picked and taken out of context. Do not cite the chat logs to me, Yo-Yo. I was in the server where it was written. Fun fact, the order of the screenshots presented here was also wrong. It was actually the annihilate her message that came first. While yes, Junkie's reaction was a knee-jerked one, if you had finished reading the conversation, you can see that he began to mellow out towards the end. Then again, how would Yo-Yo know? She was never in the private server where this occurred in the first place. And the screenshot has blocked messages that obscured the context on top of that. Fourth, assume we disregard everything I just said up to this point. One question would still remain. If Junkie giving Del Toro a shoutout and expressing his approval in his video was as bad as Yo-Yo is trying to paint it, why is she allowed to do it in this very video?
I don't know if you know her, but there's a ranter named Del Toro 251. She is a total sweetheart. I would say she's less of a ranter and more of a discussionist. She talks about different art topics and she goes into a lot of detail, and she's very sweet. She's a total angel. If you haven't checked out her channel yet, there's gonna be a little, I don't know, a little white bar thing up here in the corner. Please go check her out. I know that was off topic,
But nothing. For someone who wants to preach about how hypocritical the ranting community was, she sure didn't have a lot of consistency herself. And that's just one section. The entire video is like that. I could pick apart almost every one of her arguments and the so-called evidence she uses to support them. I could talk about how Junkie was harassed over this video. I could talk about the fact that this video was basically just white knighting Simply Dad. I could rip apart both Yo-Yo and Simply Dad's comments on Doodletones' one-shot on Yo-Yo. I could call Yo-Yo out on the fact that the only quote-unquote apology she ever gave for all the lies she spewed out in this video was an April Fool's video of all things. I could even point out how I caught her eventually deleting comments that mentioned this video, but we don't have all day. Instead, I would like to highlight a specific allegation Yo-Yo makes towards the very end of her video. And I do mean the very end.
Does anyone else find it kind of weird that Spoctor is underage and very open about that fact, and yet openly encourages very sexually suggestive and explicit art of his characters? Like, just some food for thought.
This is the source of all of those claims that Spoctor requested inappropriate art. It was followed up by Pentagon, Atari, Stories, and Fran. The latter of the four is when this toxic game of telephone truly started wreaking havoc, might I add. I also want to focus on the fact that Yo-Yo did a terrible job backing up this claim. First, the only screenshot of Spoctor being open about the fact that he's a minor is from a DM conversation that involves him and the other party laughing about the fact that someone believed that Spoctor was a child. So, good job there. I'm sure his entire audience knew about this conversation before you showed it off. Certainly, if he was as open about being a minor as you claim he was, you would have stronger evidence than a leaked DM, no? Second, the artwork you showed off has zero context. You didn't prove that Spoctor requested for it, you didn't prove that Spoctor has it, and you didn't even prove that Spoctor has even seen it. All you've done is provide evidence that it exists, and considering the fact that Spoctor is a public figure on the internet, a popular scaly content creator no less, suggestive art of him was bound to pop up whether Spoctor wanted it or not. It's not even explicit art. They are both fully clothed, and there's no implication that there is not safe for work activity occurring in this piece. Are you daft? Are you going to complain about artists drawing his characters holding hands next? Give me a break. Anyway, you might be wondering, if this video was so bad, then why didn't anyone say anything about it? Well, you see, fellow travelers, there were plans to do so. As mentioned in passing earlier, Doodletones did in fact make a one-shot on Yo-Yo's video, calling her out for the use of Junkie's out-of-context Discord messages. Furthermore, people who were around the slideshow commentary community during this time period might have remembered a trailer for a quad-op commentary on it, featuring Ponder Sprocket, Hiten Mitsuru, Scarlet Otaku, and Chili. I even made an intro graphic for it. The video was supposed to end with a cliffhanger featuring yours truly that would foreshadow a commentary I was going to make on this video.
Indeed, but now it's time for us to conduct our own investigation. There are still too many loose ends left for my liking, but in the meantime, put a tab on this video's comment section.
Hello?
Good evening. Is this the name's Junkie on the line?
This is Junkie? Wait, who's this?
Oh, where are my manners? My name is Aeron Tempest. I'm running an investigation and I need your assistance. Are you interested?
Sure. What do you need?
All I need are answers to a couple of questions and a small favor.
Alright, well, ask away.
Excellent. So my first question is...
Unfortunately, life occurred, and the quad-op didn't come out, and thus my own video never was released. A shame too, it was going to be a full 33-page long Phoenix Wright homage, with cameos to boot. I made a ton of UI assets for it and everything. I might come back to it someday, but it would have to be completely overhauled, and I'm not ready to do that quite yet. As for Yo-Yo herself, she would end up doing fine. After successfully running away from the consequences of her actions, she just simply rebranded. Twice, and went on her merry way. After all, who needs accountability when you have a dual name change and some content to produce? But be rest assured, Squid Slushy, your followers may have forgotten what you did, but I will always remember. I mean, how could I forget? Your perfect crime kickstarted a chain of events that led to one of the biggest rifts that ever happened in the slideshow commentary community. So most of you remember the timeline after Yo-Yo's video dropped. Pentagram makes a video about leaving the ranting community, Pentagram then goes on to make an ARG spanning from Twitter to DeviantArt, Pentagram, Stories, and Atari attempt to cancel Spoctor, Spoctor becomes a community pariah / punching bag, Ponder Sprocket comes in and exposes the faults in the allegations against Spoctor, Atari redeems herself, Spoctor's reputation is restored, and Pentagram and Stories disappear from the internet in shame. But that's the timeline from the side of the DeviantArt ranting community. Those of you in the SEC remember very well that there was a more sinister fork taken within that time stream. Allow me to rewind a bit to Ponder's videos regarding Spoctor. She made 3 videos, but it's the second video that's important to us at the moment. This video was dedicated to debunking allegations made by other YouTubers other than the main instigators in the first video. Among those YouTubers was one by the name of Fran. Now, Fran's original video on Spoctor was well received until Ponder covered it. Afterwards, she rightly got called out on it. Fran then took to her public Discord server about Ponder's video and claimed she couldn't watch it because of her anxiety, and she felt like she was going to have a panic attack. However, when the name's Junkie reached out to Fran concerning the matter in DMs, Fran admitted that she wasn't freaking out. Oh, and she privated her videos on Spoctor for damage control, for good measure. This caught the attention of another commentator, Hiten Mitsuru, who previously covered Fran 4 months earlier. She then proceeded to make a 5-minute follow-up video on August 20th, 2018, verbally putting Fran on blast for all the shady behavior she was engaging in at the time, using the respective screenshots to back up her claims. Side note, keep that date in mind, it will be relevant in a moment. The video was received rather well by the general audience, but it received backlash from other commentators. Originally, the main issue that was brought up was the overall tone of the video, which was understandable, but even then I would argue that it wasn't out of place in the commentary landscape at the time, in retrospect, but that's an argument for another day. Nevertheless, the issue quickly shifted to the source of the screenshots presented in Heten's video. You see, the next day, on August 21st, Doodle would go on to make another one-shot calling Hiten out for her use of Junkie screenshots, under the impression that Hiten obtained it through shady means. But she wasn't the only one. Enter NextGWSMan. On September 7th, he made a full-length commentary on Heten's follow-up video. To call it a train wreck would be a drastic understatement, even without the benefit of hindsight. He constantly injected conspiracy theories that were massive reaches at best and completely ignored the facts of the situation at worst. It doesn't help matters that he really didn't have a grasp on what was going on up until this point by his own admission. And on top of that, he went out of his way to pick the least charitable interpretation of Heten's statements, poisoned the well at every turn, and was clearly motivated out of spite over a previous interaction Hiten had with a mutual friend of his. I would elaborate further on that last point, but that's a completely different rabbit hole that's outside the scope of this video. Instead, let's take a gander at one of these so-called deductions at work.
Not too long afterwards, I get DMs from someone. When I wake up, your video has mysteriously disappeared.
Hold up. What is this? If I didn't know any better, I'd assume the entire premise of this video was discussing shit from private messages and group conversations. Hiten, did you not attend lecture when Professor Anyone advised against leaking personal discussions like this? I will confess there are select circumstances to bust private stuff wide open, but I said select circumstances. Considering only 1 out of the 5 times in which you brought up things that Fran said was from a public avenue, you're really playing with fire here. Let me just be real, if you in the audience feel primed for this to get dodgy, I know the feeling. I felt like that when I first saw this. And spoilers, but the following is the only DM or group message here with an obscured name. So, other people are good to get their conversations leaked in full, but this user got a little privacy protection?
Okay, this is the setup to the deduction, but bear with me, this is important. The problem with this claim is twofold. First, one of the screenshots came from a public Discord server, so it was actually 2 out of the 5 times actually. Oh wait, the second prong has just manifested. One of those screenshots, i.e. the one in question, was a DM between Hiten and a fan of Fran, not Fran herself, so that shouldn't count. It's her DMs to leak, and she didn't reveal the identity of that fan to protect their privacy. Speaking of which, the only other party in private correspondence was Junkie, a public figure that was directly involved in this situation. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's get to the actual deduction.
Wait. I noticed something fishy about this whole deal. Let's compare this to a screenshot of Twitter DMs just like this from a sports website. Apparently this entails a casual conversation sample from a sportscaster, I believe? Anyways, what's the difference between these two? Well, the other person's name and the icon of the other profile are missing. They aren't even marked over, they're just gone. What if this entire DM was staged? Think about it. The writing styles and readability are almost the exact same from Hiten and the unknown person, and think about how it's framed in the video. The DM happens and then shockingly the video gets removed when Hiten looks away. It's the perfect setup to claim cowardice on Fran's behalf.
Except for your theory to hold, Hiten would have to have planned this frame up since April of that year, a whole 5 months before Heaton's follow-up video would have been made, which is basically impossible. It is also an example of repeated behavior, as Fran did remove a video after Ponder mentioned it was in her material playlist as well.
Now, am I saying that this person alerted you to the fact that I was making a video on you, so you covered your ass and ran away? Am I saying you did the same thing when Ponder said your community rant was material? Am I calling you a cowardly, petulant child? I mean, obviously, right?
Hiten would have had to know that Fran would do that as well, which again is impossible. Even GWS himself knows that this is a stretch, as he would go and debunk it immediately afterwards.
But that is a lot of supposition that I could easily be wrong about. For example, I noticed this little crease here under where the name would be, and that implies that Hiten took a JPEG of the DM and went whoop to maintain privacy just like that. While this could also be used for hoaxing, it could also just be a better way of obscuring details without a big old blob on the screen. However, the fact that I could even propose this conspiracy theory demonstrates something important. At best, you're showing double standards concerning the privacy of direct messages and group conversations later in this video. At worst, you omitted details to the point where it looks like you faked something to up the drama value. Come on, I may be late to this drama, but I was not born yesterday. You can see why this looks a little fishy.
As you can see, the point here was to demonstrate Heaton's possible untrustworthiness from pure conjecture, rather than actually using evidence like a responsible commentator would. It is ironically priming the viewer for his more elaborate deduction later on in the video. Let's discuss that now, shall we? Buckle up, this is a long clip.
I'm sure a few of you still have sympathy for this little girl while she sits in her corner with her daytime soap opera performance, but don't. When Junkie questioned her out of genuine concern, she said, "Oh no, I'm fine."
And what do we have here? Junkie implicated in leaking Fran's shit? Wow, I mean, if he was really guilty, I would have expected that you obscure his alias too. That's what I would have said if I was a basic bitch. Because frankly, I think that Junkie's PMs with Fran were supposed to make it into a video. Oh sure, you say you have Junkie's permission to show these here, but I don't believe you. At all. You know why? Because there's literally no reason for Junkie in his right mind to be on board with this. The first time I ever heard of the guy was him getting involved with bullshit drama from other ranters left and right. Not to mention Junkie was there being really goddamn considerate to Fran initially. You mean to tell me that he pulled an R Nice Guys 180 and allowed you to just link PMs in a public video? That he'd intentionally get involved with this spicy drama after he extended an olive branch to Fran? Bullshit. But GWS, you may be asking, then how would Hiten have gotten her hands on such a set of screenshots? Well, I don't have many details there, but I have some good guesses. The only options that would make sense to me would be Discord DMs between friends or putting these DM screenshots into the vent server of a small private Discord server. The screenshot of the DMs were done through Discord, and I believe the second option out of the two Discord options sounds more probable. Given that something like this is most likely the case, I would not chastise Junkie for this. Venting about how someone acts in an isolated little server is much different than broadcasting such conversations publicly. Word does spread about how people act and all, but it usually happens between friends and doesn't happen with a full-on leak. Furthermore, Junkie would have had better regards for privacy by doing this, unlike what Hiten has done. And I would definitely believe that considering Junkie's online background, along with something else. Hiten already has a record of disclosing more private conversations without so much as asking permission. I've noticed her doing so under minimal provocation from this video alone with Fran.
The accused that sits before you tonight was not to refuse permission. Indeed, my permission was never sought at all.
But wait a minute, you may also be asking. Then how do you explain this comment here where Junkie seemed oddly complacent with the leaking? That's a good question, which I have two important answers for. First off, let's be honest. A lot of people got way too hyped up and allowed things in this video to slide. Who's to say Junkie didn't go with the flow here? But even then, I don't find that too likely compared to the second explanation. The more likely option of why he seemed complacent is that Junkie didn't want to get onto Heten's case to avoid further drama in this already dodgy situation. I mean, didn't Spoctor initially plead guilty to his accusations when he mitigated damage to his innocent reputation because he was in no position to speak out until later? Given Junkie's online background, a similar outcome makes sense. So that's how it went down, right, Hiten? Because unlike my prior notion about you participating in foul play, I'm certain about this one being true. Cool Phelps, web traffic.
So let me get this straight. Even though Gwis had a screenshot of Hiten saying point blank that she requested Junkie for permission to use those screenshots, he didn't believe her because it doesn't match Junkie's MO, and Hiten has a record of leaking stuff without permission in this video. Instead, he claims it's more likely that Hiten took those screenshots from a shared private server and posted them without Junkie's permission, and Junkie just went with the flow to avoid drama? An interesting proposal. However, I disagree. I'm still baffled at the fact that Gwis just sidestepped Heten's claims with zero evidence to back himself up. Even if Junkie was in a previous situation where his messages were leaked, the context of those situations are very different. As stated earlier, Yo-Yo took Junkie's messages and omitted all prior context in an attempt to expose him for being vindictive over someone not taking his advice. Hiten, on the other hand, made sure to link the entire conversation in the description to ensure no context was cut and explicitly stated that Junkie was acting in good faith. This orange is not an apple, Gwis. It is also not a banana. Not to mention that Gwis effectively boxed Hiten into an intellectual Kaizo trap. His entire premise is that Hiten is untrustworthy with private information because she has a habit of leaking that info to the public. Although Hiten has already claimed that she asked for permission, he dismissed that outright in favor of his own theory. So answer me this. How does Hiten prove she asked for permission? Why, she would have to show the DMs where she asked Junkie, which would make her untrustworthy by default, because now she's leaking more DMs to the public. It's a no-win scenario for her from the word go, all without a single piece of evidence to boot. Oh, and one more thing. Gwis would have known that all of his conjecture that Junkie's DMs were never meant to be in a video would have been wrong from the start if he didn't overlook one small detail. Heten's video wasn't the only one to use those screenshots in the first place.
I feel like the community would benefit hearing a proper defense from me. I feel like it'd be a nice refresher, you know? Fran, don't have a little anxiety attack, even though you're apparently doing just fine because of Ponder's video, but you know, that's besides the point. I'm not a 25-year-old woman, I'm a 17-year-old boy that you spread false information about, but that's besides the point.
That's right, Spoctor made a video about Fran and used the exact same screenshots that Gwis is hounding Hiten over here. But wait, there's more. Would you like to know when Spoctor's video on Fran was released? Well, I'll tell you. August 20th, 2018. The exact date that Heten's video came out. So now the question becomes, how did Spoctor get those screenshots? And why is it okay for Spoctor to use them without anyone questioning his character while Hiten can't? Well, the answer to that second question is obviously spite, but that's beside the point. I mean, you could have confronted Hiten directly in DMs and gotten the confirmation of her claim privately. I'm just saying. Oh, would you look at that? It looks like a DM conversation, not a vent channel. Anyways, in spite of everything, the blame for this can't solely be laid at the feet of Gwis, though. After all, these faulty theories had to be based off of something else for him to proclaim them with such conviction, and we would learn soon after what that something else was. After this commentary, GWS would make a follow-up video before he vanished to the Freedom Trail. In it, he admitted that he actually did contact Junkie before making his commentary.
So the thing is that Luxter here, might as well call him Luxter the Lifesaver for helping me figure this out so quick, brought up a good point of, you don't think there might have been a chance you were wrong there? And that's a very good point. Didn't you all wonder why I assumed that with so much uncertainty? Especially with another similar possibility where I said I didn't know about that for certain? Well, the truth is, I actually did consult Junkie about this. I know, I didn't want to tell you that either. He didn't want more drama, so I didn't bring it up in the prior video. The thing is that I asked him if he did get permission from Hiten to show the DMs and all. I gave him a yes or no question, he gave me a vague answer about it, and I interpreted it as a no. So I then asked if I could use this information for the video, and, well, once again, he didn't like the idea of me going ahead with that. So I told him I'd proceed with the video using sheer doubt, or deduction, as I called it, and that people wouldn't know I got his testimony. As you can imagine, I'm not happy that I have to go back on my word. But anyways, I made the video and did all of that. I basically tried to replicate what I figured out about Junkie from his PMs, and I did so by using previous public circumstances. I thought later he'd actually be able to come out and say, oh no, I didn't get the permission and all, and it would have been clever. And that's when Luxter's comment got me realizing it was time my claims got backed up. So I caught Junkie up on what happened late into the night, and he told me he actually did give Hiten permission for this, and he regretted it. As you'd imagine, I was kind of upset at the time because I thought I got his word and this was pretty cut and dry, but apparently not. I guess one of us miscommunicated, but honestly, I don't care which one of us did. I shouldn't have went through with this plan to begin with.
So in the end, Hiten was correct. Junkie did in fact grant her permission to use the screenshots in her video. Who could have saw that coming? But by then, the damage had already been done. Hiten had already been cut out of the slideshow commentary community at large, and public perception had branded her as a volatile, if not dishonest person. Which is ironic, because the way GWS went about this whole video was the very definition of disingenuous. Instead of just citing his sources, GWS thought it would be better to perform all of these mental gymnastics just to hide Junkie's involvement to prevent drama. Yet GWS's entire premise was that Hiten, who didn't hide anything that she used in her video, was somehow more dishonest. Well, look how well that turned out. Now then, allow me to address Junkie's actions for a moment. His aversion to drama is well documented at this point, and this example in particular demonstrates how it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. None of this would have happened if Junkie was just honest from the start. I understand he was worried about starting more drama. I should know, Junkie has expressed hesitation of me covering Yo-Yo's video, but that's no excuse to throw someone else under the bus to save your skin, especially if it wasn't necessary for you to do so in the first place. No one complained when Junkie's DMs were used in the Spoctor video, it really shouldn't have mattered. But no, his refusal to just tell the truth allowed GWS to make the equivalent of a hit piece on Hiten. Cowardice should not paralyze you from doing the right thing, doubly so when one is such an influential member of a community. In any case, there was a silver lining to this video, though it came attached with a silver barb.
So in the end, yes, Hiten had permission from Junkie to show those. And knowing this, I apologize to Hiten for criticizing her unfairly about that. Say what I will about her otherwise, I'll be damned if I'm unfair with my subject like this.
That's right. GWS did publicly apologize to Hiten. Okay, he also apologized to Junkie and his audience too, and he still stood behind some of his other claims in the video, but the matter of importance here is that in spite of how toxic GWS was, he at least owned up to what he did regarding this allegation. Now about that silver barb, I'm afraid it found itself lodged in the jaws of a certain red dragon. Sure, GWS is ultimately responsible for the train wreck that he caused, but at least he was willing to publicly clean up some of the misinformation on his part. Junkie, who enabled this lie in the first place, on the other hand, was completely silent publicly on the matter, and has remained so to this day. So 3 years later after that monkey business, the woman scorned returned to rip that silver barb from the dragon's maw, setting the stage for our final act. . November 18th, 2021. Hiten releases a video aptly titled, Junkie Lied to Everyone, where she and Doodletones recount about how Junkie lied about not giving Hiten permission to use the DMs in her video on Fran. Hiten notably talks about the turmoil she went through in the aftermath of these lies.
So I started getting attacked from all sides by friends, colleagues, and a particular rat bitch. I had no idea why people were just assuming that I had done something considered so horrible and taboo when they were close enough to me to know that I'd never share something said in confidence, and that I'd never had a track record of doing it beforehand. It made me wildly paranoid that the people in my life thought I was so awful, and that they were more okay with the idea that I had taken someone's personal testimony without their consent than with just asking me if that was true. It ruined a lot of my friendships. One in particular, it took 3 years of processing to heal. It started the rat bitch saga, which lost me more friends. I'm not going to talk about that today. It caused me to be isolated and targeted by a whole community of people I thought cared about me. I lost it a little. I'm not ashamed to admit my parents talked about me going onto the ward. I never did, thank God, but shit did get dark. And I had no idea at the time why.
Hiten states at the end of the video that she wants Junkie to hold himself accountable publicly for what he did. Nothing more, and nothing less. And that's where this story should have ended. Unfortunately, it was merely the prologue. Enter, of all people, Spoctor. On December 19th, he released a video titled, My Former Community is Falling Apart, where he goes over several dramas members of the DA ranting community have gone through, which would have been fine until he starts talking about one of Junkie's dramas.
You wonder why people are trying to ruin one another in this community. It's because of this mindset that anger and wrath wins. Oh boy, you lied to people. To the gulag you go! Forget the good you did for people. Forget the fact that you basically built the foundation of my channel and helped me get on my feet, Junkie. You lied about people, and someone decided to out you for it. It's time to crucify you and make you walk on eggshells. I mean, look at the video calling him out.
I don't want your disingenuous, half-hearted, slimy, bitch boy apology.
That's no way to treat people on a platform. Even if they've angered you, that aggression only serves to progress the issue. The amount of stress that you're putting on yourself by basically forcing yourself to get involved with that much wrath is not worth the outcome. It's one thing when you cover a situation that's so far alienated from your personal life. It's another to cover shit that deals with your personal life. It's another to air your dirty laundry to an audience in a format that comes off uncalculated and disorganized.
I don't know where to start with this clip. I mean, for a start, Spoctor cut out the context to Heten's clips explaining how she was affected by Junkie's lies, which in turn actively downplays the whole situation. I watched the SCC burn before my very eyes as a result of Junkie's many white lies. I don't want to hear from someone who is effectively an outsider just come out of the woodwork and downplay all the suffering that has resulted from what Junkie did, especially when you have to manipulate context to do so. Then there's the fact that you're tone policing a victim, which is incredibly ironic because Hiten was far more restrained with Junkie than she was with Fran. In fact, Hiten expressed regret at how angry she got when she interacted with Junkie afterwards.
And I'm a big enough woman, a big enough adult, to admit I came a little fucking unglued. Maybe I shouldn't have said the things I said. There's a chance I went a little too far. I don't even really remember what I said, but I do remember it was mean. A kind of mean I try really hard not to be anymore, and my mental state was a reason, but it wasn't an excuse. I should have just blocked him. The minute that he said it, I should have cut contact, grabbed the screenshots, blocked him, and left. I didn't. I screamed at him.
Though that seemed to be left out of the final cut of Spoctor's video as well. Go figure. But I think what angers me the most about this whole turn of events is that Hiten took a massive hit to her relationships, her reputation, and her mental health for you, Spoctor. Every bit of anger and wrath that you claim she used against Junkie was actually used for your own defense. Let me put it like this. While both Hiten and Ponder came to your aid during your plight, Ponder was the one who was deified, while Hiten was the one who was crucified, with Junkie serving as her own Judas. You can argue Hiten's video was unneeded. You can argue that her video was too harsh, but you cannot argue that her video wasn't genuine. It was far more genuine than the video Gwis made on her, to say the least. Yet here you are, adding insult to injury, insinuating that Hiten does not deserve the cathartic release of 3 years of emotional torment that she endured as a result of Junkie's lies and his refusal to own up to them solely because you did not like her tone. Not only are you victim blaming her, you are retroactively spitting in her face for her efforts 3 years ago, because none of this would have happened if Hiten didn't stick up for you in the first place. So you can imagine, when Hiten saw this video, she was furious. I was furious. Everyone who was around during the fallout of the Fran drama was furious. As a result, the day Spoctor's video was released, a tryout on it had started to take form. The participants were June, Dio, and myself. We began collecting as much evidence as we could about how Junkie's lies affected the community, but by the next day, I decided to try the diplomatic route. I reached out to Spoctor in a private server to try to talk this out. I then got to schedule a conversation on December 23rd between Spoctor, June, Dio, and myself, to try to see if we could get Spoctor to make an addendum, because at this point, people who had watched Spoctor's video had started to come to Heten's comment section to minimize what Junkie did. Spoctor said he would make an addendum in the call, and later as a pinned comment in that video. We told Hiten the news, and we thought everything was going to be fine. Then January passed, then February, then April, then June, then August, but no addendum came. It wasn't like Spoctor was on a hiatus or anything. He was very much making videos through all this time. Just not the video he said he was going to do. When September rolled around, Hiten had gotten tired of waiting, and rightfully so. Thus, she did the only thing she could do. On September 14th, 2022, she dropped her final video on the matter, Listen Lizard. In this video, Hiten calls Spoctor out for what he said in his original video, then goes over the conversation that I had with Spoctor in the private server, with the server owner's permission, of course, the 4-way call that I mentioned earlier, and the pinned comment. Then she ends the video with what she wants out of Spoctor.
I stated what I wanted out of the situation with Junkie clear as crystal, and you turned it opaque, so I'll tell you what I want out of you. I don't want your disingenuous, slimy bitch boy apology either, Spock. The only time I want to hear your voice in my direction again is for you to post that follow-up and not a syllable more. Your line of communication to the person you hurt is cut. You can fix it and that'll be the end. I'm exhausted. I'm tired of having people who hurt me have the last word, though, so here I am. Good night, farewell, go fuck yourself, goodbye.
Guess who suddenly remembered I existed 5 days later? Now keep in mind, Spoctor was already in hot water around this time period. I was aware that Spoctor was receiving backlash for his DID video. He even made a community post saying that he deleted said video. I found out later that he actually didn't delete it, that he just unlisted it, but we'll get to that in a bit. However, I didn't know that Linlin had also made their commentary on Spoctor earlier that month, but it was additional pressure nonetheless. Either way, on September 19th, 2022, Spoctor reached out to me in DMs and we had a chat.
And I'm back again, Lamau. I've seen a few videos linked to me. I haven't had the time to watch yet, but I'll watch some tonight.
Spoctor, it's been 8 months.
Since that last talk?
Yes.
Yay, it has been. I can't remember why it stopped, cause we had a talk going. I think I went out of town. Yay, I went to Mississippi. That's right.
I assumed after your Christmas vacation you were going to make that follow-up video we discussed. From my knowledge, that has not happened.
Is that what this is about?
Yeah, we gave you more than enough time to resolve this.
To make a video, you mean?
Basically. Listen, I trusted that you would honor your word.
Nah. Message loud and clear. You'll have a video soon.
Spoctor, it shouldn't take you having a public controversy to fix your mistakes.
I don't see it as controversy. I see it as a discussion.
You are currently being called out for your DID video, which you said you deleted when you only unlisted. Hiten has already made the video about your My Former Community is Falling Apart video, and the discussions we had about it. You may not see it as such, but this is quite serious.
I know I'ma watch it.
Side note, are you actually going to delete that DID video?
I unlisted it. People can't search for it anymore. Is that not deleting it? I know not technically, but in the scope of the video being lived, people can't find it anymore. I felt that is sufficient. I don't really like actually deleting content. I can private, it doesn't really make a difference. Oh, I think I forgot to take it off my playlist. I should do that actually.
Yeah, you did.
Shit. Thanks, I'll do that soon.
You shouldn't have said that you deleted that video when you actually didn't in the first place. People notice these things, Spoctor.
Well then. Not like it really matters, I'll just private it. I think it's a very nuanced argument. I feel as though I took the video down personally. It's no big deal for me to private it. It's no sweat off my back, I don't mind.
There is no nuance here. You said you deleted it, you did not. Making it private is not an option, you must delete it. Or you update your posts to be more accurate.
Sorry for short-winded stuff, I'm at work.
That's not even my concern at this point.
Video is deleted now.
This is a trust issue, Spoctor. If people can't trust you to tell the truth over something that can be so easily verifiable, how do you expect them to trust you now?
Their trust in me, what they decide to place into it. I'm really only human. I've been wrong so many times before.
I'm glad your actions now line up with your public statements, but again, it shouldn't have taken me pointing it out to you for you to do so.
You merely convinced me I should have. I don't feel as though I lied. But I see now why I should have actually hit the delete button as opposed to taking it off the listing.
It's not a matter of feeling, Spoctor. That was a lie by definition. If you had said you unlisted the video in your post, that would be one thing, but you said you deleted it.
I'll be more specific next time. Honest mistake.
You're an adult and a public figure, Spoctor. These types of mistakes shouldn't be happening.
You don't say? What do you expect me to say to that?
I'm saying we shouldn't be here waxing lyrical about whether you feel if you lied or not when you didn't tell the truth.
Yet we are. I'm explaining to you my thought process and why I've done what I did. I even went back and fixed what you recommended and encouraged. However, it seems like you feel it is needed to continue to press me. Do you want a perfect person? That doesn't exist, dude. This is the vibe I've gotten the entire convo. Are we gonna discuss or do you want to chastise me? I'd like to return to making the video I should have made. I'm sorry I didn't start when I should have.
Let me make this clear, Spoctor. I stuck my neck out for you with Hiten. I told her to wait and give you a chance to post your follow-up for months. I don't expect you to be perfect. I would be crazy to demand that. But I do expect people to honor their word. I'm not going to sit here and lecture you further than I already have. Just understand that I'm still giving you the best grace that I could possibly give you at this point.
You make it sound like I'm horrible. But okay. If this is your best grace, I'm not gonna ignore it now, that's for sure.
It wasn't my intent to make you feel horrible. I'm trying to get you to fix these issues before they spiral further out of control.
I intend on it. For real this time, haha. And then I'm gonna fold up my career in commentary when I'm finished. Cause I'm tired. My era in it is over. I'm gonna post my video on Junkie or SMTH, and finish like that. Or maybe something else.
I've been instructed to inform you that you have until the end of the week to release that video. If not, Leo Convoy will have you pulled into the Senate.
The Senate? I'll pass on that, no thanks. I'm going to say my piece and move on. I do not have the time to make it in a week, so I'm doing something else. See you when I do.
Very well, so be it.
It'll be a shorter synopsis. Sorta just clearing the air. And then announcing my departure from commentary.
I'll notify my contacts. I hope you can set this right, for your sake.
Yes?
I'm not threatening you, just to make this clear.
Wild that you have to clarify that.
I like to make sure my communication is clear. I am telling you about Leo because I want you to understand that I am literally the last thing stopping a lot of folks from coming after you.
Would you like to see the draft?
Yes.
If I vanish, I went to bed. I have work in the morning.
Okay, I had zero idea about Linland's video, so I had to go and check it out after watching your draft. I'm not pleased with Linland's behavior in it, so I'll have to go deal with that now. As for your apology, the montage at the end needs to be its own video. I don't think it's appropriate to make that the last fourth of your video.
Alright. I can work with that. I thought about taking the last part out myself, but since you said that now that I can go ahead and do that before release.
Alright.
I'm surprised you hadn't seen Linland's vid actually, considering it's one of the catalysts to why Hiten made theirs.
I don't watch Linland's content.
Fair enough. Aside from the final part, is there anything else you'd like to note for me?
There's not much more feedback I can give you now. I've done all I can.
You've done all you can? Lol. Okay. Well, I'ma just prep it for upload around evening time Wednesday. Then take a decent break.
Alright then.
Thanks for the insight. See you around.
Quick note, Linlin's video was not the catalyst to Heaton's video.
Ah, okay. The comment they left led me to assume that. Not that that detail really matters.
So that's the end of that conversation. Unbeknownst to you, Spoctor, I was holding back the sword of Damocles that was hanging over you for 8 months on your behalf because I thought you would keep your word. That's all I requested in return from you, Spoctor. Keep your word. But it seems you were only able to do so when your feet were held firmly to the fire. I had to press you to finally delete the DID video, like you said you did. Not me, you, Spoctor. I don't care what your intent was, or how you felt. If you said you did something, and that something was not done, that is a lie. No questions about it. Then you have the nerve to ask me if I want a perfect person out of you, as if I'm the unreasonable one in this conversation. You came to me, Spoctor, after 8 months of silence and failing to uphold your part of the deal, no less? And you expect me to be as lenient as I was to you last year? As for your walking away from commentary video, I believe it only happened because you were being attacked from all sides, and even then, I had warned you that if you didn't complete that video by the end of the week you contacted me, then other people would deal with you. Yes, the video was bad. I knew it was bad. But what do you want from me at this point? I had just spent 40 minutes arguing with you whether not doing what you said you did counts as lying or not, and I just put a deadline on you to get that apology out. Mix that in with the fact that you had a right to defend yourself from some of the claims in Linlin's video, and I'm basically locked in an impossible situation. If I tell you to omit the Linlin section, I look like I don't want you to defend yourself. If I tell you to redo the video to put more emphasis on correcting your issues, then I look unreasonable because you're on a time limit. The best I could do was tell you to make that montage you put at the end of the first draft its own video, which, to your credit, you did. It was reworked into our past 3 years video. But even after all this, I was willing to let everything go. I was willing to let you leave and keep everything that happened between us private. But then, Just a Robot came out of the blue on December 10th with his Why Spoctor Really Left video featuring Doodletones. Doodletones section is basically a condensed version of what happened during the Fran drama, but Jar goes over Spoctor's drama with Hopeless Peaches and Hiten before revealing a call between Hopeless Peaches, Spoctor, and Leo Convoy. As mentioned during the beginning of this video, that call is the reason why this video exists. So, let's talk about it, shall we? The premise of this call is twofold. A. Understand why Spoctor was actually leaving commentary, and B. Discuss some of the issues that Spoctor had yet to address.
So you say that the DID video and the negativity you got from that was like one of the main reasons why you felt like that was like the final nail in the coffin kind of reason to leave.
Yes.
Kind of all that stuff. Then why was Linlin the main focus of your leaving commentary video?
Oh, because she was wrong.
I mean, there's a difference between, like, we'll get into that in a sec, but regardless of whether they made the best video ever or worst video ever, if you're leaving commentary first and foremost, wouldn't you rather want to speak on the things that you think that you should say rather than what a 16-year-old thinks of you?
No, they said some pretty bad things about me. I kind of wanted to talk about it.
Because, like, you literally start your video, like, literally 13 seconds in, saying that you want to clear the air and explain why you're leaving commentary, and immediately cut to talking about Linlin's video.
Yeah. I don't want them thinking that Linlin's video is the reason I'm leaving.
And then why was Linlin's the main focus of your leaving commentary video?
Because she greatly discharacterized me.
Would you like to elaborate? Because you didn't.
I think
watched
Doodle's
your
video did a great job of it.
Okay, well, I'm not asking what Doodletones thinks, I'm asking what you think.
That smug tone of yours disgusts me, Spoctor. Keep in mind that your section on Linlin is longer than the actual apology section of your video. Do not misunderstand me, you have the right to defend yourself. However, you do not have a right to be haughty about the fact that you could use a minor as a scapegoat for your actions. Also, Doodle is not your PR agent. You can discuss your issues about Lin yourself, with your own words. After this point, Spoctor's audio goes off the rails, drowning out the entire call, so I'm skipping it. Now, Spoctor claims it's because of his voice meter, leading to the following exchange.
I can hear. Okay, there we go. Hi.
Alright,
here?
cool.
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Okay, have you turned your voice meter off?
No.
I think you need to.
No, I'm good.
You think this is funny?
Yes.
Why?
I do.
No, why?
Because I don't care.
You don't care. Do you know what we're here to talk
No,
about?
not really.
You don't care. What are we here to talk to you about?
I don't know. I have really nothing to lose. I've done nothing wrong. I have made a few mistakes, and I'm not going to be put through the ringer for it.
Who's putting you through a ringer?
You.
Me? I'm from both parts. You're sitting here
Yes.
talking. Okay, tell me how I'm putting you through the ringer.
You guys. Let me elaborate.
Sure.
You guys are literally about to make a whole ass video on some, like, superstitious, like, shit that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You know, throughout that entire call with Leo and Peaches, you know whose name was never uttered? Heten's. The person that you've arguably hurt the most outside of Peaches doesn't even cross your mind. Why would it? You did nothing wrong. It was only a few mistakes that you shouldn't be crucified over. Linlin was taken to task over her mistakes covering you. That's what matters here, right? Because it's about you, isn't it? Then so be it. Let's make it about you. You rage quit about 3 minutes later after Leo started following up on your claims.
So what have I said to you? How have I mistreated you?
This is the first time you've spoken to me.
Yes, directly. This is the first time I've spoken to you. So what have I said to you that you think is so abhorrent?
I mean, I could pull up the comment, but I really don't care.
No, you do care. Otherwise, you wouldn't be stalking like this. What did I say that you find so egregious?
You guys have a great day. I don't care.
Your actions in that call are nothing short of ungrateful and repulsive. You have the nerve to try to whataboutism your way out of taking accountability from your own actions, or lack thereof, and then have the gumption to just leave instead of standing your ground when you receive the slightest pushback. I wouldn't have given you all this leniency if I knew that you were going to abuse it like this. I engaged with you with nothing but good faith over the past year, even when you whined, delayed, and repeatedly lied to my face. I've tried to tell you what you were doing was going to cause problems down the line, but you were still convinced that you were in the right. You try to argue nuance when it's convenient for you, but you flat out disregard it when it does not. You complain that I want a perfect person because I pressed you on the fact that your actions do not match your words, but immediately dismiss Leo and Peaches because you thought they were treating you unfairly, even though you hurt Peaches more than Peaches has ever hurt you. Well, Spoctor, your free trial to Clemency has just expired. The last gift of grace I gave you, my silence on the matter, is now officially revoked. Until you're actually ready to atone for your actions, I don't want to see you anywhere near my DMs or my mentions again. Know that this bridge was burned by your hand and your hand alone. And that's my piece on the matter. It's fascinating to me that all of the problematic elements in the Spoctor saga eventually got what was coming to them in the end. From Pentagon and Stories, to Fran, to Gwis, to Junkie, to even Spoctor himself. Though I think that Fran and Atari were the only two that actually properly atoned for their actions during this whole debacle. Whereas, the only one who truly escaped the clutches of karma was Squid Slushy. But after today, who knows how long that will last. In any case, I can now rest easy pulling the plug on this 4-year-long saga. I know that there are some loose ends to tie up, but that will have to wait for another day. Thank you for indulging me through this tale. Until we meet again, online travelers, cheers.